into a world of imaginations. Today's episode is for all you bookworms out there. Now we interview entrepreneur Thabiso Mahlape. She's the owner of Blackbird Books. We hear a story of how she started South Africa's first black female-owned publishing firm. I am your host, Liesl Wilson. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Face in the Crowd. We're chatting with Thabiso Mahlape, entrepreneur and owner of Blackbird Books. Thabiso, why did you decide to get into publishing?
It wasn't a decision that I made consciously. I had initially wanted to be a journalist. That was my dream from when I finished matric. That is what I wanted to do. But then I got an offer from Eskom and I was going to study to be an engineer, and then that sort of confused things a bit. And so I ended up doing engineering for 4 years, failing spectacularly at it until at the end of those 4 years, I went to try and study journalism again, but the course was full and I was advised that I could take publishing as an alternative. The base modules were all about similar, and I could carry on with journalism the next year, but I did publishing and I adored it, and that's how I ended up in publishing.
Upon studying, though, you were unemployed for 2 years thereafter as well. I mean, what was that transition like for you? Because now you find your passion, but the financing, the support behind that isn't there.
It was a very hard 2 years because when I studied engineering, I suffered a lot of self-esteem issues because of how badly I was doing it. I wasn't used to doing badly at anything. And so when I studied publishing and I was enjoying it, and then to then finish and then sit without a job for 2 years, there was like further knocks on my self-esteem. I was very depressed. And also my dad isn't someone who's very open with money. He's like, you want to go to Joburg? Go. But I'm not funding this, So I literally lived off friends. He'd send me like a little money now and again, but not all the time. So it was a difficult 2 years. And also my friends were all working at that time. Remember, we all started studying together when I studied engineering. So everyone is working. People are buying cars, people are buying houses. And I'm like, can you buy me airtime? So yeah, that was very hard. So for me, the lowest point, the biggest internal struggle I faced was my depression, and literally almost killing myself because of it.
And then the idea for Blackbird Books, I mean, when did you get inspiration behind that idea, and also just, getting it into a workable publishing imprint firm?
So the imprint thing, when I was working under Jacana Media, and when my focus started shaping up, which was the black stories and black people, when that started taking shape, then there was talks of perhaps you could do an imprint and you could just do this as your sole focus. And that was before I had my child, and I was also still thinking, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I'm not ready for not having a salary, because you get very attached to salary because you have obligations, But once I had my daughter, and it's funny because her name is Lesedi, which means light. And I didn't know that by naming her that is what she would become. She's literally become my light. She guides me. So from her needs and mine put together, I'm able to think bigger. I'm able to want bigger for me and for her. And that's really when the Blackbird started taking shape in my head, is from the need of doing something for her.
And on that note, I mean, you just had this dream of publishing books, telling black stories, but logistically, you're now having to be an entrepreneur, you're having to balance books. There's so many other challenges that come with you deciding to, implement that dream. Can you walk us through some of that and how that affected you personally?
It's still a huge strain. Blackbird's going to turn 2 in 2 months, in August, but it's still a huge strain. It's a learning curve after learning curve after learning curve. It's simple things like what's supposed to be simple, like doing your taxes, you know, whether knowing what to bill under what account, and, you know, just now suddenly realizing you have to pay tax twice, you know, as a business and as an individual. Because I thought, well, the tax will just, no, it's not, you know. So, and also not having, so my father is a policeman, and the tax that he knows is him filing his taxes. So you can't even go home to get advice for such things, you know. You need to constantly be learning, be asking advice from people. And some people are quite stingy with information as well, which makes it rather difficult, and people just want to put on like airs on you know, making it seem like it's easy, you know. And I really don't like motivational speakers because they make it seem like all you have to do is whisper into the night to the universe and you're going to wake up tomorrow and things are going to be sorted, and that your fear of Excel sheets is going to be you know, is going to be gone. But it's not, you know. You have to sit down, you have to learn about margins, you know. You need to know what forecast is, you need to know what targets are, and to measure yourself against those things. It's really difficult.
And I think it's also shining a mirror on your lack of knowledge in that area, you know, and then you having to take the stand to empower yourself all on your own at the same time. You know, there's so many other forces that come into play when you decide to follow your dream. But are there expectations that come with, you know, being a business owner, deciding to follow your passion and sustaining it as well?
Yeah, so many pressures. Well, first internally from oneself. You want to be successful at this thing. You know, you don't start something that you don't want to see, you know, grow beyond your wildest dreams, but also just from outside. And, you know, there's a big conversation in the literary landscape at the moment about decolonizing the literary space. So the minute you come in as a Black publisher, everyone has all sorts of expectations on you. So people want me to be, because Blackbird Books is an imprint of Jacana Media, which means that it's a JV, you know. I get a lot of flack for not being completely independent, you know, but one can't be independent in this industry if I want to make a good living out of it, because there's so much like just structural things in place, like just the distribution alone is a nightmare, you know, just dealing with that. And also there is the reputation as well, you know. You can't just be the new kid on the block, and I think that's what a lot of people overlook, that you have to put your work in. You know, people have forgotten that. And I mean, it's an old thing that people have said for years, but today with like the advance of social media, people just imagine that things happen like this. You know, one day you were singing your ass off on Instagram, and the next day someone was signing you. It doesn't work like that. So I think more than anything, I've had to learn to shut out the external noise, you know, from people assuming that I want help and I need help, you know. People who put up Facebook statuses that say, can someone please help her so she can be completely independent? And I think that's been like a very irritating thing for me, because you don't know the setup of my business, you don't know how it works, and you're making assumptions on what you want, not what I want. You haven't bothered to ask me what I want out of this thing, and you projecting your own things onto it. And there's also people that I think this is the most hurtful, is people actively going out to my authors or people that I'm talking to sign on to say, don't sign with Thabiso because she loves whiteness. Don't sign with her because she's so affiliated to whiteness. So for me, that kind of hatred, when the thing I'm doing is meant to advance all of us, I think has been the most hurtful. But again, you have to shut it out. You have to work. You know, the most you can do is just keep letting your work talk for you.
We'll have more after the break. Stay tuned.